Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zack, and today I am driving a 2023 Fisker Ocean Extreme. Below me are two electric motors paired to a single-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this Fisker Ocean here today because, as you might know, Fisker has filed for bankruptcy. This was their product that they made here from 2023 to 2024. It was a very short-lived vehicle. They made about 10,000 units with only selling about 5,000 of them. And these cars are plagued with issues. And now that they've gone out of business, even more issues. So we're going to be getting into all of that today, and I get to show you guys the Yugo of the 21st century. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. But let's get back to that dual motor electric setup. Well, this is an all-electric vehicle. This time around, Fisker didn't try the hybrid thing. They just went straight to electric. It had an estimated 360 miles of range, which no owner really saw, but you could get them in two configurations. The base model Sport trim would just come with a front motor as a way to save money and, of course, make less power. Every other trim, the Extreme, the Ultra, things like that, had dual motors, meaning it is all-wheel drive. It has a single-speed automatic transmission, obviously, it's an EV. And so how does the Fisker Ocean drive? Well, here's the thing. It actually drives really well. You have several different drive modes that you can put it into. If you put it into Fun, that will turn on the rear motor, or Hyper is going to be like an all-out straight line speed experience. But if you leave it in Earth mode, it will just rely on the front motor, leaving it in front wheel drive. So let's put it into Hyper here. My glasses! It's fast. It's a quick car. It's an EV, 480 horsepower, 460 horsepower, something like that. It's quick. It will move. And so the actual dynamics of it's not bad. Visibility isn't great, and the ride quality is because it does have 22-inch wheels on it. But overall, from where I'm sitting, this isn't a very bad car. And we'll talk about why this failed later on. Something very important to note about the drivetrain are the brakes. These brakes were specially designed by Brembo for the Fisker Ocean, which is great. They're wonderful brakes. However, you can't find them anymore, and they don't make parts for them anymore. So, if you need new brake pads, you cannot buy them. You have to get them off of a crashed or parted out Fisker Ocean. You have to use used brakes. That is how scarce these parts are already, and the vehicle was in production a year ago. That is the scary new reality here with this Fisker Ocean. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a very slim digital gauge cluster. I like the look of this. I wish it was a little bit bigger. This does feel just a little bit cheap, but somewhat to be expected. On the steering wheel, on the left, we have our skip track, voice commands, phone options, and off to the right, we have our adaptive cruise, as well as our drive mode select. Off to the left, this little car with the road is actually your drive mode select, not lane keep assist. Now, the radar cruise isn't really radar, it's adaptive cruise, because there's camera systems as well as a radar sensor up at the front. However, Fisker said that the radar sensor would be turned on at some point, and it never has been. So it has all the equipment ready to go, it's just not turned on in the software, so it doesn't work. Off to the left, we do have our headlight buttons, fog lights, as well as power parking brake. And moving on to the door, we have our power mirrors, power windows, and power locks. Moving into the center, we get one of the tallest infotainment displays I have ever seen. Now, right off the bat, this isn't bad. However, it does not have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, which has become an industry standard for any new vehicle, especially one up in the $60,000 range. So it lacks that. The operating system is fine. It's okay to use, although it is a touch laggy, but other mainstream brands have laggy infotainment as well, so I can't really hold that against the Fisker specifically, but it definitely doesn't help the case. Here is the backup camera in case you're curious, as well as the 360 camera. Something really interesting is that this does have a boost mode, but you only get to use it 500 times throughout the life of the car. So you might buy a used Fisker, which I wouldn't recommend, and it might have no boosts remaining. Very, very weird. Down below, we do have some physical buttons for the climate controls. We get dual zone climate, and our volume is down here as well. Then we have some cubby space down below and the cup holders. So we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the Fisker Ocean, and unfortunately it fails, but to be expected with the rest of this car. Then we do have a center console and the seats. The seats are heated, which is a nice feature to have, and overall they've been relatively comfortable. I do like these blue stripes that they have on it. I think that adds a really cool and unique feeling. And up above, we do have a solar panel roof, which is really cool to look at from the inside of the car. You really get this new wave, new edge technology feel just by looking up here in the Fisker Ocean. That is very, very special. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2023 Fisker Ocean Extreme, and a couple of things to note. First of all, I'm 5'11", not a small guy. My head is coming close to the ceiling, but with this giant roof, if I sit a little bit more center, it's actually not bad. I fit back here. My hip is also hitting this center console, which I can turn on, and I do have rear heated seats. Very nice feature. And temperature, climate controls, fan speed, and volume. We have pop-out cup holders. It's nice. The seats are a little hard. Things back here feel a little flimsy, a little tinsely. But we do have the nice blue and white pattern that carries on back here. I have two USB-C chargers, current with the times. It's not an awful place to be. It's not my favorite place. It obviously needs a little bit of work, but unfortunately that work will never come. Would I mind riding back here across the country? No, but that would be a lot of charging stops. So, something to note. Let's hop into the very back. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space. Then we'll show a really cool feature called the California mode, and then we'll talk about the looks. Why is it yelling at me? ADAS fault. Features limited. Drive carefully. I'm not driving at all. All right. Cargo space. All right, so we're on the back of the Fisker Ocean. We do have a button here on the key fob to open up the rear tailgate. Once we are around the back here, we do have a wall outlet as well as a 12-volt outlet. Very nice to see that over here. And we do get some storage down below. Actually, I would say a pretty sizable amount of storage. So very, very cool to see all of that. That is the rear cargo space of a Fisker Ocean. I would say very adequate with other vehicles in this segment and other vehicles at this price point. So very, very nice to see all of that. Come up here, single button to put the tailgate back down. But now, I would like to show you guys California mode. So it's this little sun button on the key fob. You press it, and all the windows, including the rear window, go down. These are called the doggy windows, and then the sunroof opens up. Very, very cool to see that. The only way you can make these windows open is with California mode. So something to note. If you want to just have these open, put it into California mode and then raise and close everything but these windows. There's no button on the inside to do that besides the California mode button. So very, very interesting there. But as you can see, the solar panel actually moves back and you get this giant open air experience for California mode. Now, pre-software update, you could hit the button again and it would all close up. However, with the new software 2.2, I believe, they took that feature away. Why? Because Fisker. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I personally don't think that this is the prettiest automobile that you can buy today. Well, actually, to be fair, you can't really buy them anymore. I don't think it's that pretty. Fisker has always had very outlandish, very odd, very long and thin design language. This is the Fisker Karma. Well, really, this is the Karma Rivero when a Chinese company built it and started rebuilding the Karma, but this was Fisker's design language in their previous vehicles, and you can see that kind of carries on here for the Ocean. I like that they did some interesting colors, especially this nice blue color. I'm a big fan of that, but overall the looks of it, I could take or leave. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the Fisker Ocean, quite possibly the only time in my life that I will do so? Well, if I were plopped into this seat and only had this experience to reference, I would say, yeah, it's a little odd here and there, but it's a good car. I wish it had Apple CarPlay. I wish the gauge cluster was a little bit bigger, and I would go on my merry way. However, unfortunately, I've had many conversations with Fisker Ocean owners, and there are lots of problems. Like I said, that radar cruise isn't hooked up, the actual radar sensor, which is fine. However, if the camera gets glare or blocked, it goes to the radar to try to see if there's something in front of it. Well, you can't look at the radar when it's not hooked up, so it gives you a warning every 3 seconds for your entire drive. The recent software update fixed it to where it's now every 6 seconds it warns you your entire drive. If you drive it in the rain, it will warn you that it can't see every 6 seconds for your entire drive. Fisker also promised that there would be a phone app that you could manage the vehicle from. They never did that. Never got that to work. The software updates happen, or when they did happen, would happen whenever they so pleased. If you were out and about and it decided it was time for you to get a software update, you got a software update. Doesn't matter if you were at the Five and Dime or Dollar General, you got your software update and you couldn't use the vehicle. And sometimes the software update wouldn't go well. It would kill a 12-volt battery, bricking the vehicle and turning the horn permanently on. I had a lot of hope for Fisker, and I had a lot of hope for this car. And knowing how cars are built these days, I have much appreciation and admiration for everyone that worked on this project. No one wants to make a bad car. But with money restrictions, time restraints, the economy, whatever it is, sometimes we do get bad cars. And unfortunately, in today's market, in today's society, we don't have time for bad cars. We don't have the luxury of, oh, it's not great, but it's cheap. This wasn't cheap. This wasn't affordable. And now the life of this car, the livelihood of this car, is up to the individual owners themselves. The owner of this car, Jay, hosts Fisker Ocean meetups at his house, so the Fisker tech, the one remaining Fisker tech, doesn't have to travel all over the place in order to service and fix vehicles. Without Jay doing that, it would be a disaster. The individual owners have to come together to try to fix software bugs. And that's why I wanted to review one, is because less and less of these are going to be on the road. It's not like the olden days where if the car didn't start, you could clean the carb or rebuild the motor. A lot of the times, the thing that breaks these cars is just straight up software. And so you won't really find these in junkyards. You won't find these being hobbled together. So at the end of the day, we're not really going to see these anymore. And while normally I would say that's a shame, I don't think it is with this. I think there's a very valuable lesson to be learned with the Fisker Ocean. The small stuff matters. By and large, this is a fine, normal automobile. It turns, it goes forward and backward, it has seats and a steering wheel. But it's the little things that end up mattering. It's the weird bugs, it's the assists, it's the lack of Apple CarPlay, it's the oddities that keep this from being a regular vehicle. And now that Fisker has gone bankrupt, mind you, for the second time, these cars will get no support. They're not going to get any funding. They're not going to get any upgrades, and they're just going to fade into obscurity. I applaud the very vibrant Fisker community that is dedicated to keeping these on the road. But as time passes, it's going to be less and less people. And so here it is, the Fisker Ocean. One of my top bucket list vehicles to review, because I don't think I'll ever do another one. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Jay for letting me borrow his Fisker Ocean for today's video. By the time this video comes out, he won't even own this anymore. It's part of a buyback program because Fisker is being sued because they promised a lot of things and did deliver them, but that's neither here nor there. Jay has been absolutely wonderful. I really appreciate he took the time today to walk me through everything, the ins and outs of this vehicle, and I appreciate him for that. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.